everyone, it's Abigail at Movement and Massage. So today we're talking about that pec stretch that you hear about, where people are concerned about their shoulder rotating forward and getting really tight here. But I want to show you another muscle, and we'll go over some anatomy. The other muscle here is called anterior serratus, and that plays a role in pulling your shoulder down and forward. So let's jump into that. To show our pec muscle, this is the sternum and the clavicle. So the main part of the pec muscle will come out along the sternum here and along part of the clavicle and sweep all the way up to the humerus, so to that first bone of your arm. So here we've taken away part of the pec major muscle. Underneath you have your ribs coming out and around, and attached to some of those ribs are these three fingers that form the pec minor muscle. So they'll sit right in here and come up. Now where they attach is actually to the scapula. Part of the scapula comes through here, and this is where that pec minor attaches. This part of the scapula is called the coracoid process. So if we were to see the scapula, it would be sitting behind here, like this. The acromion process is that the spine of the scapula comes out and attaches right here to that AC joint. Okay, if we were to take away your rib cage, what we would see looking from the front of you is the back of this scapula right here. And inside this scapula, where you can't really touch too much, is this muscle called the anterior serratus. So it attaches right on the inside, and it comes out and wraps around to your ribs. So again, for the anterior serratus muscle, it looks like fingers wrapping around on your ribs. So if this is the sternum and these are ribs in the front, fingers of the anterior serratus muscle would come out right along here and then wrap around behind and sit up in that scapula. When this gets tight, it is also one of those main muscles pulling your shoulder down and forward. So when we look at stretching the pec muscle, we also want to think about stretching the pec minor and the anterior serratus here. To show you a side view of the anterior serratus, if we were looking at your shoulder here, here's your sternum, your clavicle, and the back of you where your scapula would sit, your ribs coming around, your rib cage. The anterior serratus lives on the inside underneath the scapula and then comes out along these ribs right here. Now when you're stretching your pec major and your pec minor muscles, you want to make sure to keep your palm forward and go straight back with your arm. I like to keep a hand here just to feel the tension and make sure I'm not pushing it too far. So make sure your hand doesn't rotate back in toward your side, but is facing forward or even going out, and then you'll feel more of a stretch. Make sure your shoulders are not coming up like this, and you're not trying to rotate. Now for a stretch, generally for a muscle you need 20 to 30 seconds for it to start to release. Now I like to focus also on the fascia around the muscle. So that connective tissue around the muscle a lot of times has more to do with a stretch being successful or not than the actual muscle. So with the fascia, that can take several minutes to let go, and the stretch is a lot gentler than you would imagine. So you don't need to be pulling it so far, just a little bit of a stretch versus something like this is going to go a long ways for the fascia when you hold it a few minutes. Now you can see for the pec muscle, I can also focus on the fascia all the way down my arm. So wherever I feel that stretch the most right now, it's more in my bicep area. I'll just pause there. It feels like a slight burning sensation, and you can see I've extended my fingers. I'm stretching them out. I'm just holding that. You want to be able to breathe, take a nice deep breath all the way out. And you need to be able to hold that stretch, maintain it for several minutes. Or if I'm reaching and straining like this, that's not sustainable, that's too far. Now I can rotate my hand, I can lift it up, I can even stretch this way. Wherever you feel is the most effective stretch for you, because there will be different fibers of the pec major or the pec minor muscles that will be affected. Now for the anterior serratus, that is the one that comes out behind that shoulder blade, so it'll be on the inside of that shoulder blade and wraps around like fingers on your ribs. It pulls that shoulder blade down and can be part of the tension here. So when you think it's just my pec rotating my shoulder forward, it's not just the pec, it's also this one here. So we need to focus on that as well when we're stretching. And when you stretch that, it will be focusing on stretching back and slightly upward. So to do that, you can grab the edge of the door frame and step forward straight, not twisting, and that will also help open up this anterior serratus that lives under your scapula. Now here I'll show you what the pec stretch looks like using a door frame or the corner of a wall, also for your anterior serratus when you get that hand a little higher. For those of you who may try out these exercises, remember that movement and massage does not claim to treat or diagnose any conditions. So have fun with this and just do what works for you, what feels comfortable, and if you have any concerns related to surgeries or injuries, make sure that you discuss that with a care professional.